DRACLAND is my Roman themed build, and it's the second one that I made in this world. It is the largest castle that I've ever made. Hey, it's Muffin. Like last time where I finished off in Erewhon, which is this area, go check out the video if you haven't. In this video I'll be sharing another build of mine, another kingdom. It is called DRACLAND, and it is a more Roman themed build. So like with all my builds, they're all within the same world. And DRACLAND is the northernmost build in this continent. And it's meant to be one of the more earlier builds in this continent as well. So as I fly through this little village that I made a video on last week, go check it out if you haven't. We first approach the gates of DRACLAND. The gates of DRACLAND are one of the monuments in this world, one of the wonders, you may say, and it's a very clear delineation between the areas protected by DRACLAND and the rest of the continent. These gates really force you to come in and feel the majesty of DRACLAND. So those gates actually are identical to the tower that is in Dawn, which is the very first video in my build. And it's meant to be how one of the sons of the Jarl from the very first build, being Dawnfall, one of his sons established this area. Like with every other build, there are themes to the colours. This one is red, and what a lot of people don't know, and I'm talking about the people in the world themselves as well as the audience, is that the colour is based on the dragon, which is a symbol or statue of the actual dragon that I've added through mods. So each king of a region has both a dragon and a tree that act as emblems or symbols to signify their power and their right to rule. And it's a way of them showing that they are authorized by the Council of Dragons and by the King of Dawnfall, who is the High King of this continent. So this build is one of my earlier builds, and as a result the color gradients aren't the best, and I think due to changes in texture packs and updates there have been some losses in the colors, but I wanted to make this build a lot more Roman themed, and as such there are zones and colosseums and hippodromes, which is what this is. And one of the things with Roman builds is the grid layout, and so I've tried to implement that in this build. So I think it's very interesting how much the ancient Romans were able to build and to what scale they could build and how advanced their society was. So although this one hasn't fallen, it makes you think that any society can fall. But yeah, so this is where the chariot racings and horse racings occur. You can see that there are many colours within this area, unlike a lot of my other builds, which are just monochromatic. And in this one, I really wanted to experiment with these color gradients. And you'll see that they shift towards the reds as you get closer to the heart of the city, to the main inner city or inner castle, the inner keep. So you start with blue and purples, who are meant to be more trade based, and as you progress towards the heart, you get towards the reds, which is meant to be more higher class, more noble or respectable. But before we get to that, I'll show you the rest. So if we follow this aqueduct all the way down, you see that this area is a blend between the oranges and the purples, and also hinting towards the reds of the inner city. And again, it's just meant to be a small town. Again, another district with its own trades. But yeah, as you can see, because it's such an early build, it's very basic in its complexity. There's not much depth. But I think not everything in your world needs to be brilliant off the bat, nor does it need to be perfect, nor do you need to go back and update it to whatever your current build level is, because it shows age and it shows a completely different block palette and building style, which only cements the difference in the kingdoms. So it kind of adds to the lore. This is also the first time that I used custom trees in the world. In particular, I had these orange trees that would blend the yellows and the oranges and the reds together, just to create a flow. With every build of mine, I try to add some form of religion to it, just because I feel by adding some kind of theology, it adds so much to the world. It makes it very realistic. Now, with Romans being known for their water works, I thought it was very fitting to add a fountain in this small courtyard that leads to one of the religious buildings. And I'll get to it later, but wherever you see a fountain, it connects to the sewage system that runs underground. I think I've spoken about framing before, but here's a perfect example of how to frame things. So here I use the arch of the aqueduct and position this statue in the middle of it. Just small things like this really catch the eye when you walk around. Again, under all of these roads, there's a sewage system that runs. So although I won't drop in right now, you can see that it goes into a sewage system that covers the entirety of this city. So when I was building There were two main features that I wanted to capture. It was the matching layouts of the roads with the sewage system, as well as the aqueducts, because I felt they were the main Roman features that I was aware of. But as we go past the yellow area, we get to the green, which is where the majority of the population lives. The green area is a lot more clean, higher class, you may say, and it is very apartment based in the builds. It is also the first place that I made a cathedral or a church in this build, with this being the very first one that I've ever made. If you've been seeing my streams and my other videos, you'll see just how far I've gotten in building, but also how much I used the basic principles for future builds. And a beautiful interior. Later on, I went and started adding more identifiable Roman or Greek style builds, being temples, just to show that there is a diversity of religion within this area. So the aqueducts are all generated or all sourced by a single mountain that provides water for the entirety of the city. Though it does not provide it for the inner keep, due to potential poisonings. Even when building this build, I forced myself to get challenged and develop my building skills, as this was probably my second or third build that I made. For being inspired by Elden Ring, I wanted a very grand castle. So this one's actually the biggest keep or castled city in terms of the height of the walls, and it's also one of the first builds that I used these gradients in. One of the ways I challenged myself was to use angled builds, because it really created a sharp line and breaks your expectation as you come around the curve. One of the things that I really enjoyed and am proud of is that this palace or castle can be seen from almost anywhere as you walk, and the way the road curves is it first teases you with this pillar and then gives you a proper glimpse of the city, of the palace. As you can see, it's a very white and red themed area, very iconic of what the Romans had, but also a stark contrast to the exterior builds and even the walls. It's meant to show a much more polished, richly sourced build, because it's meant to be quartz, with the mines for the quartz being just over here. Just through here. But with it being so richly sourced and distinctive in colour and clean, it's just meant to hammer down how different it is from the external kingdom. This is one of the builds that I'm the most proud of, as it was again one of my earlier churches, but this colour scheme was very impressive in my mind, at least to myself, and I felt that the block palette works very well. Moreover, it's also one of the ones that I've actually done the interior for. Here's one of the dragons, the second eldest in all of the kingdoms, and it protects DRACLAND and the king. I've also made ballistas to shoot down any dragons or aim them down and shoot at any ships that come and attack. And if you want to see a tutorial, let me know. You'll notice that there are no crenellations for which someone is to hide behind, and that's simply because that wall is so high that a person physically cannot shoot up there. But this is the northernmost part of DRACLAND. It is a internal keep, and a massive one at that, with its own castle and walls and internal city and marketplace and lord's house within a much larger walled city. A Roman themed build won't be complete without a Colosseum, so that's what I have built over here. You'll see this Colosseum, or half of it, as an amphitheatre in many parts of my world in other builds, and it's just to show how open the trade is and how open the knowledge is within the continent, how frequently architects and builders go from one side of the continent just to help out their brothers on the other side. For the final part of this video, I'll show where how the drains are organised and how they all feed to the fountains and flow and collect and empty out to the city. So to access any of these drains, what you first need to do is to just find any of these manholes. what it does is it drops you down into the sewer system. And this is a massive sewer system that goes on for ages. But all of them get collected into a major sewage system, into a major drain, and then they empty out. I think on this side they empty out this way, but there are more exits for the water to flow. The builders of this area would have known that the drain is one of their weakest points, which is why they grated it, so that enemies may not exploit the drain for their own advantage. So again, there are so many levels, and I spent way too long making major drains and minor drains, and then even smaller drains that that lead into those ones. And again, they all lead out to these manholes throughout the city. I put way too much time into this build. But although no one will ever go down here, just knowing that there is this depth to the world, to me, it makes it feel way more realistic. Later on, I intend on making a underground kingdom, kind of like a rat city, or where people who are outcasts or criminals, they come and live together in these sewage systems. I don't know if it's very realistic, but the way that it filters out to the ocean without water coming back is by creating a pocket of air over here and forcing the water to be stopped by this wall here. And again, there is a grate, though you are able to swim through it. That wraps up my tour of DRACLAND, my Roman themed build. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like. It really does help with the algorithm. And as I'm trying to grow my channel, it really does not only show your support, but help reach out to a larger audience. As with a lot of builds in my world, they do come from suggestions. So if you have any, please do leave them down in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to. And most importantly, have a good day.